why AUTIMATIC was recruited by Cloud9. I guess it started off, obviously you saw Slemmy left. It wasn't like we just cut him. It was just like this like mutual thing where we felt like it wasn't the direction. He wasn't sure if he wanted to coach or not, so he took a break a couple weeks ago, and then we figured out that he actually didn't want to coach. So even though the coaching rule was changed with Valve, that wasn't really going to affect Slemmy's decision. That didn't really affect Slemmy's decision. We still are looking for an analyst and stuff. Slemmy just is still interested in playing and just felt like the lineup wasn't for him that we had, even though he thought we could be good. Everything wasn't working out. So I'll just leave that at that. Then in terms of our options, we were looking at some players. Obviously, like we had scrimmed with tarik, we had scrimmed with AUTIMATIC, we had talked to some other players from around the world, but we kind of wanted to keep it domestic. There's maybe a couple other players that like we looked at, but we didn't try out. And to us, it was mostly like who has like recent experience, and like if we could pick up a strat caller, like there's not many strat caller players that you could really pick up right now in NA. And the reason I guess we wanted AUTIMATIC, and the reason we were interested in AUTIMATIC after playing with him and what he brings to the table, like when you watch him play in Rank S, he does a lot of like little mini playmaking things, and he's pretty good playing around like smokes and like playing in like after plants and unique mid round like chaos. But at the same time, his role within TSM was kind of like a lurker. So what we liked about that is like we've been wanting like Shroudy, for instance, to like get a little more wild lately. Stewie already gets pretty wild, but Stewie can kind of go to both gears. But obviously Stewie's at his best when he's making plays. You guys, you know, everyone knows Stu. He's not just through smokes, but just in general. Stu's fully immersed in the game right now. He's a really good intuition for making plays. And yeah, so what we felt like is not only was he this type of player, but he's like, I guess before all this, he's Stu's friend too. So like they've been talking about like some other things behind the scene, I guess, and like AUTIMATIC kind of expressed that at one point he wasn't happy with like the direction of his team or something, and like had came to us. Well, he was already friends with Stu before that from like Rank S and pugging and stuff. Basically, we looked at his skill set though outside of just being friends with Stu, and we saw that it's actually pretty good to have like another player for our lineup that has kind of a good head on his shoulders for decision making, isn't too like erratic with his play style, and can bring some stability to the table because he's got skill. There's no doubt about his rifle skill, but almost what's better for us is that he's kind of like a consistent player mid game, and like I think the more we get into a rhythm, like the more he'll be like a big pillar of our rounds, because we need someone who just can make smart plays and not overly impulsive, you know? So that can allow Shroudy now to loosen up a bit, hopefully, and get some more kills. It can allow Tyler to get more aggressive when he needs to, because AUTIMATIC's actually a pretty good secondary opper, and so is Stu. So we're encouraging lately like Tyler to be a little bit more risky, if you guys noticed, and I think it's helping his play a little bit, because he felt like he stagnated a bit. Like tarik could have been a good player, but the difference between AUTIMATIC and tarik is I would say AUTIMATIC's is maybe like the way AUTIMATIC got into the pro scene was probably by being a little bit more like studious and like, you know, putting in like kind of like that grinding time as like a lurker, whereas like tarik is more like kind of like just flashy and like a good aim and came up with mouse spaz. So like there's two different benefits to those players, and it's not like one's like necessarily worse, it's just a different play style. And I would say Tim might fit our team a little bit better for like a consistent play style than it would be with tarik. But anyways, there's a lot of players I can compare him to. There's no reason to compare tarik anymore. But that was just our pickups. So I guess really what it comes down to now for us is like the way we've been doing strat calling is like there's a couple maps I call and there's a couple maps Stu call, and then like there's a couple maps that are kind of like in between. I'm not gonna pretend like we have like some perfect synchronicity. We're still looking for an analyst and coach, and we obviously just started practicing. Shroudy's about to come up for some coffee. I got a whole new little coffee set up in my room. I bought like a grinder, fresh beans, a little CO2 container. So what we're still trying to figure out is like some maps, like when we win pistols and like we get that first gun round, our team is pretty vicious because we all can make plays. So the second people get that like pillowing in their mind, like this, to make plays, it's pretty epic. Morning, Shroudy. The only downside is, oh, you didn't bring creamer up, so I'm gonna have creamer and everything in there. It's gonna be a whole little cafe.
No, I'm just gonna pour coffee and go back downstairs.
Okay, here, I gotta pour Shroudy some coffee. Show me a cup of coffee. Mike's just got, you can see yourself over there. I just made Mike a fresh brewed little cup.
Oh my god, I'm so tired.
I made it from, I picked the beans this morning from our backyard. Okay. It's basically pretty straightforward. We had a couple options. We looked at Tim. he gets along with us, and then I was explaining what he brings to the table, how it's kind of stability, how we need you to get a little bit more rowdy, Tyler get a little bit more rowdy. You know what I'm saying? Take some more fights. Just play like fucking the game is meant to be played. CS:GO'd out. The one thing that I think we could be really good at, the get a pick style, where like we just kind of have a spread on the map and we can be super reactive. We would like get picks or we'd get number advantages, but we'd stay really stagnant. I think that's one thing that's always lacked in C9 in the past with our structure, which could be good. Like holding is like one of the best things you could do in certain situations, depending on what your setup is when you get the pick. But in other situations, like when we get pick or then they get pushed on and like the CTs try to even it up, we always didn't have like. Maybe at one point with Sean Garrers, we had a pretty good like reactionary system with like Freakazoid and Shroudy making plays and me lurking. But we got to get back to that. We lost it for a bit, so like we've been talking about that mostly on maps. We actually haven't gone over a shit ton of strats, and that's the plan this week. So hopefully by probably like after Northern Arena, after a couple weeks, we'll have like a pretty good on like 5 or 6 maps. If we get picks at like A, B, or middle of the map, and then like based on the 3 different types of defaults you have. So really you have to go over like 3 different defaults, 2 or 3 options. It's kind of like you have to go over like 9 options per T side, aside from actually having executions. If you notice SK, they don't plan it all out, but they have it all planned out, if that makes sense. They might have different defaults they do, and then if they get picks, they kind of are just, they react off them. Like SK is really good, and I've been looking at a lot of their demos lately of just like getting a pick and then like swiftly regrouping somewhere and like swarming with numbers. The hardest thing about our team is going to be making this stuff consistent. It's just going to take hard work. I've been reiterating to everyone, like, we can't rely on me, we can't rely on Stewie, we can't rely on Shroud or AUTIMATIC to help with strats. Everyone needs to help. Anyways, yeah, that's that. That's why we picked up AUTIMATIC.